Well, our first guest tonight to talk about the president's efforts to secure our borders, to fix our broken immigration system. Joining us tonight, Congressman Francis Rooney, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, also former U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. Congressman, great to have you with us. Let's start with the claims by the left, whether it's Schumer, whether it's Pelosi, whomever it may be, on the left, that there's no crisis on the border, that there is no problem because we've got 70,000 opioid deaths a year in this country, far more, as you know, than were killed than in the Vietnam War. How can these preposterous claims be made without response from the national left-wing media, without response, in some cases, from the Republican Party itself?
Yeah, we definitely have a problem here on many levels. And the fact that they're trying to wash it under the rug and say no wall is reflective of their kind of lack of reality. You know, as far back as the case of Chai Chien-ping in 1889, the Supreme Court said that a sovereign has the ability, as part of being a sovereign, to determine who goes in and out of their country. And we don't seem to want, the Democrats don't seem to want to do that. We have got to stop wanton, reckless, unpatrolled entry across our border.
And it's very clear, and the president alluded to this today at the border. This is a very simple thing. Pelosi and Schumer are simply denying the president the funding for the wall because they realize that that is the last major promise he has made to the voters that he has not fulfilled. And when he fulfills that, he will be a juggernaut in 2020, and that's what they're fighting, don't you think?
Well, I'll tell you, this president has done what he said he would do. I think it's refreshing to see a business guy come in from outside of politics and just do what he said he would do. And now we need to finish it off with this wall.
Well, finish it off with a wall, but Pelosi says it's not going to happen. Schumer says it's not going to happen. And it's obvious that they're playing presidential politics, trying to block this president on his last and fulfilling his last major promise to the voters of 2016. Don't you agree?
I do agree. I think that it shouldn't be about political posturing. It should be about protecting Americans and protecting our sovereignty and making our border impenetrable.
And I want to take up the Rio Grande sector, law enforcement there telling the president during his tour that there's a greater number of apprehensions here of late than in previous months. And already we're seeing a significant travel across that border by smugglers, drug smugglers, human smugglers. What is your sense of what the president can do here next? Should he continue to invite the Democrats over for tea, or should he just say, you know, it's time for a national declaration of emergency?
Well, I don't think I would want to be bluffing with President Trump, seeing the way he's operated so far. He may well get to the point where he tries it on and we find out if it'll stick or not. You know, you mentioned the Valley. I have great experience in the Valley. I've had a lot of business down there, and the disproportionate number of the crossings take place in the eastern part of the Rio Grande Valley. We really need to secure that area.
Yeah, we need to secure that area. As far as I can tell, looking across that whole run of 2,000 miles that make up the Mexican-U.S. border, we need to secure the whole thing. This idea of picking and choosing, I've never seen it work anywhere.
Right.
Because what happens is that they simply are diverted by whatever wall or barrier or fence. And it's time for everybody on both sides of that border to grow up, because there's corruption on both sides, and that corruption is what's keeping that border open, whether it's drug traffic, human smuggling, whether it's the cartels. This has got to stop.
Well, the countries of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador are not going to improve no matter what anybody tries to do in the near future. This crisis of caravans and migrants trying to get through Mexico to the United States is not going to stop. We have to defend our border. Defend
our border, indeed. And also you and Senator Ted Cruz, another a border state senator, if there ever were one, calling for term limits. You've got co-sponsors and moving ahead. It's an interesting idea, one whose time, I think most people right now would say it's an idea whose time has come.
Well, you know, 80% or more of all Americans, of all subsets, groups, identities, et cetera, say they want term limits. The only people who don't want term limits are the entrenched politicians in D.C. Maybe that's why people will give Congress an 11% approval rating.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. I can think of a host of others as well. Congressman, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou, for having me on.
You bet. Congressman Francis Rooney.